Okay, this week's questions. First question is a follow-up from last week. Here's the question. Um, it says, how come Michael, who has the second most fights in BFL history, struggles to find MMA fights with you? Why does he not get favorable pro fights to help him advance his career like you do for most of your other amateur champions? Well, I would disagree with that because in my opinion, Micah got the most favorable treatment coming out of amateur into pro. We offered him $10,000 if he won the pro belt within 3 fights, which we've never offered anybody else. And while he was, and it's not like we gave him two impossible fights on his way to the title shot. We put him his pro debut was in a fight where he was a 4 to 6 to 1 favorite on paper going in, which he won. His second fight was against Darvin Douglas, which on paper you would have to say Micah is at least a 3 to 5 to 1 favorite, and he struggled that fight. He ended up winning, but going into the fight, he was heavily favored. His third fight that he's now, and we gave him his purse every fight, and his third fight, he's still getting his purse and a $10,000 bonus if he wins the fight. So think about it, $10,000 to show is like UFC kind of money for your first fight. So we put him against Leo Xavier. So if you fight in the UFC, your first fight's going to be tougher than Leo Xavier. So it was still more than fair. He ended up losing that fight. We gave him his purse. Now he's sitting on 2-on-1 as a pro. We gave him another favorable matchup after that in a fight where it was at least a 3 to 1 favorite on paper to build him back up. He won easily with elbows. Then he's sitting at 3 to 1. We're about to build him back up, and he comes to us. He goes, "Look, WSF is coming into town. I think it's a better career move if I fight for him." And I said, "I disagree. We'll see what happens." And he went and took that fight, which that fight against Brandon Kornberger was. Adam Ryan had contacted us before to take that fight on our show like 6 months before, and we said, no, Micah is not ready. And I didn't believe at that time this was a good fight for Micah at all. So anyways, he took that fight. So since then, yeah, we didn't didn't give him favorable fights in BFL, but we still gave him fights, and we gave him, it's not like we threw him to the wolves. We gave him 50-50 fights. He had a 50-50 fight against Jared, which he was dominating, then he lost. He had a 50-50 fight against Ash, where he was close to finishing Ash, and he lost. But they were both 50-50 fights. So we're still giving him fights, and he's not the one complaining to us because he knows where he stands. He knows why we do things the way we do things. He made his own decision. So we've been fair to him, and he's been fair to us. So that's the deal with Micah. Next question. Why did Jay publicly lie about Mike Hill ducking Chris Anderson? Look, I don't want to keep talking about Mike Hill. He's irrelevant in BFL, but it seems like he's always, for some reason, his name always comes up. Now you're asking this question. Look, if you feel I publicly lied about Mike Hill ducking Chris Anderson, then I apologize to him and his agent. If that's the case. If he wasn't ducking him and he actually tried to take that fight, I apologize. So end of that. But actually, wait. But at the same time, I don't want his agent going around and saying, hey, look, Jay is protecting his champions again. Let's get the facts straight. If I'm protecting Mike Hill, if I'm protecting Chris Anderson, so he's not fighting Mike Hill and he's fighting Jared Revell, what's a worse stylistic matchup for Chris Anderson? A high-level BJJ guy, which is Jared Revell. So he's getting battle-tested, just like everybody was saying Matt Duarte is getting protected. But we did put him against Colin Danes, which everybody felt he can't handle a high-level wrestler. We gave him an Olympian wrestler in Colin Danes. He happened to pass the test. Same with Jeremy Kennedy. You know, the guys we were trying to get him Miguel Torres. Nobody would fight the guy, so UFC signed them. So UFC knows we battle test these guys and they're legit. That's why they get signed. So don't be saying we're protecting Chris Anderson and we're giving him Jared Revell. That's absurd. Next question. Next question. What do you think about the province of BC not allowing athletes under 19 years of age to compete in the sport of MMA? Your biggest two stars, Jeremy Kennedy and Matt Duarte, both started fighting for you at a very young age, and that was a big reason why they made the UFC. Well, first off, I didn't know it was a mandatory rule. I thought it was at the promoter's discretion to use or not use athletes under the 19 years of age starting 16 months or 16, 18 months ago. What happened is we got a phone call from the commission last year, a week before our event, and they explained to us, look, you have this matchup with two athletes under 19 years of age. We suggest to you, you take this fight off your card. And here's our explanation. The reason is there was a amateur volleyball game going on 2 days ago. A 13-year-old girl got spiked in the head with the ball, and she got a severe concussion. Now all the media and all the doctors are all over it. It's getting a lot of bad press. We're getting some. We're just waiting to see what happens. There's some research coming on concussions, and we suggest to you to take this off because it could be a disaster if something, God forbid, happens at your event. With all this stuff going on, they're going to be all over it. And we agreed and we took it off. At the same time, this was told to all the promoters, and some other promoter in the province took our matchup, exact same two people, put it on their card, and they didn't listen to the commission suggestion, and they did it. So the reason we did it is because I agree with the commission, and I think it's the right decision with your biggest opposition for MMA, the doctors union, one of the most powerful unions in the city, as your prime opposition. You just don't do something like that in this point. Other promoters that do it, I totally disagree. That's how you kill the sport. Next question. How come BFL usually only has one ring girl? I like Jerry Gianco's show more because he has 8 to 10 hot ring girls, and that makes his show a better show. Well, what do you want me to say? If you solely go to MMA events to watch girls, my advice to you would be that head down to a number 5 or Brandy's. They got every 10 minutes they got a different hot girl coming on the stage, and it doesn't cost you $50 to $100 for the price of admission.